there are some business transactions or realms of wealth and prosperity that if you are about to break into, spirit will have to, they must pay you a visit, and they will come to try and convince you, negotiate with you the cost of those businesses. And that is why, and when we talk about somebody losing his soul to gain the whole world, I believe you have always heard men talk about what shall a man profit or gain if he loses his soul and gains the whole world. When a man has been visited by spirit beings and they have negotiated the cost for a certain transaction, that is when we talk about losing your soul and gaining things of the world. So, as bad as this statement always sound, but it is not always losing. It is always a business. I want you to understand that. As bad as we always talk about what shall it profit a man. In fact, the term that was used was for profitization. Profit is a business term. So when we talk about losing your soul to gain the whole world, it is always a business. It is always an exchange that is done between man and the spirit when they are of sound mind. An exchange that is done with both the human and spirit on their sound minds. Somebody look at the book of Job chapter 1 verse 3. The book of Job chapter 1 verse 3. The Bible says that Job became the richest man in the East. Then if you look at still Job chapter 1 verse 10, it says, or we saw Satan appearing before God among the sons of God. There is a day that the sons of God were appearing before God, and then Satan was also among them. So sons of God appear before God, but to the children of God, sons of God are being sent to them. Like Jesus, the Son of God, was sent to the world when we were still children, or when we were not even become one with God, when we had already sinned. He came and he reconciled us with our Father, and we became the children of God and later sons of God. Now listen to me. The kind of wealth and prosperity and influence that Job entered was because of the kind of partnership he had with God, who is a spirit. Job, being the richest man in the East, was because of his partnership, his connection, his fellowship, his intertwinedness, his oneness with the Spirit, who is God. And the Bible says in verse 1 of Job, chapter 1, verse 1 to 5 of Job, that he was a man who used to offer sacrifices to God, thinking that his children maybe have done a sin that will offend God. So Job would offer sacrifices to appease and to try and cleanse his children, if in case in the time and duration that they were feasting, they had offended God. So Job did not know that through the sacrifice that he used to offer every time when his sons and daughters went for parties and enjoyment and feasting, what he did not know that those sacrifices on that altar was sealing deals of partnership with God. That was one thing that Job did not understand. For him, he thought that the sacrifices that he kept offering for the sake of his sons and daughters, either because they were parting and they may have offended God in their process of parting. So he would offer sacrifices of the altar, trying to please or cleanse them, their children, his children. So apart from those sacrifices, doing the bit of cleansing, it was also servicing the altar and attracting the Spirit, which is God. And this sealed, cemented the partnership between a Job and a God who is a spirit. So the blessings, the wealth, the realm that Job broke into of wealth and riches and abundance and influence in the East was as a result of his partnership with the Spirit, who is a God in this case. And God gave him the intelligence, blessed him, and did all the things that made Job to become as great as he was. And on the part of Job, his was to offer sacrifices on the altar. So whether he knew it or he did not know it, as much or as long as he kept offering sacrifices on that altar, God, their relationship, their partnership was gaining strength, stability daily and every hour. So that was the secret to the wealth of Job being the richest in the East. That realm of Job entering into the wealthiest among the men of the East, he broke into that realm because of his connectivity with God, who is a spirit. So it was of the intelligence of a spirit being who is a God that enabled Job to break into such kind of realm. Let me divert from the topic that or something that what I'm talking about here for a minute. I want to show you a certain problem here. I want to correct a given error here. So let me just divert for a minute. Now, you see the problem why our current generation cannot keep generational wealth. I want to show you the secret why our current generation, these of our generation today, cannot keep transgenerational wealth, transgenerational mantles of abundance. This is the secret. Look, the sons and daughters of Job did not know how this wealth came to be in their family. Just somebody show me the book of media, show me the book of Job chapter 1. Job chapter 1 verse 4. Job chapter 1 verse 4. Thank you, media. The Bible says in Job chapter 1 verse 4 that they used to hold parties daily, feasting. They used to hold parties daily, feasting. Now, look, the sons and the daughters of Job did not know the pain, the suffering, the secret that made their father, or how those wealth came to be in the hands of their father, how those wealth came to be in their family. They did not understand what their father went through and the deals and the connections with God that resulted into those wealth. So because they did not understand the pain that those wealth came with, that is why they were wasting them without caring whether and how the resources came to be. They were wasting them and just enjoying them, and they were not even managing or trying to be with their father to teach them how to manage and create wealth. Their own was to feast, party and party. Party in the morning, feast in the evening, feast in the daytime, feast in the nighttime. That was all that they were doing. And the resources that they were using to party and to feast, they did not know how these resources came to be. They did not know the pain, the struggle, the connection, the partnership that Job, their father, had with God, who is a spirit. They did not know the kind of consecrations that Job had to keep for the sake of those wealth to be in that family. So for them, they were just wasting. They were not even interested to learn how to manage wealth, how to manage resources, and how to create resources. For them, they were to enjoy. They were to use what their father had worked for. They were eating, enjoying the fruit of the labor of their father. So for them, they were not laboring. They were not going through the pain. They did not know anything. They did not understand anything to do with administration. They did not understand anything to do with wealth retention, management. They did not understand anything because they were all, and what they were all doing was to enjoy the result of what their father did for them. So, these boys and girls, they used to hold parties daily. Job chapter 1 verse 4, we have read it. They were feasting daily. Now, somebody, with that kind of a mindset, do you think generational wealth can be maintained in a family? If all that the children that we have today, what they are doing is to feast from morning to evening, with that kind of behavior, with that kind of lifestyle, how can they keep a transgenerational mantle for wealth? Can they really manage that wealth? Can they maintain those wealth? Such kinds of mindset of just feasting and partying. This is the this is the reason as to why we cannot keep wealth in our generation. This is where we are as a generation. This is why transgenerational wealth are no longer there in our families, in our homes, in our territories. Why? Because the children of these men that have labored to accrue or to accumulate or create this wealth, these children do not have the mindset of keeping or continuity of this family business, family wealth. They don't have that mindset, they don't have that training, they don't have that vision. It is not part of their plan, it is not part of their program, it is not in their DNA. What is in their DNA is how to party in and out, night and morning. That is what they have. And with that behavior, with that kind of lifestyle, we cannot keep generational mantles or generational wealth. We cannot continue with, or we cannot have a continuity of generational wealth in a family. This was the secret. These children of Job, there is nowhere in the Bible again where they were called or where they were named or where the Bible is speaking about them again. What they were talked about in the Bible was how they were feasting. And we thank God, because when the tragedy came in the life of Job, those children died. The ones who came, I believe, were not the same with these ones that died. The first sets of children that Job had could not continue with the generational wealth that Job had created. With the mindset and the lifestyle of just feasting daily, they could not. No, the children of billionaires of our time today in our country are not acting far from how the children of Job were behaving. None of the children of Job was with his father being trained and mentored on how to build wealth and the secret of prosperity. All they were doing was to party. And it is the same with the children of our business, multi-billionaires around. Their children, either they are abroad, they are just enjoying the wealth of their father. So their father struggled. Their father, a billionaire here in our country, went through pain, suffering, getting into shrewd businesses and doing fraudulent activities here and there. That is how he became that wealthy. And then, instead of his children sitting with them, staying with them at home, so that they can mentor them, these billionaires, their fathers, can train them and tell them the secret of how they came to create and accrue those wealth. Instead of them being with their fathers to be trained and mentored, they are abroad, they are walking around with big machines, enjoying the fruit of the labor of their father. What if, or after their father's death, with that all knowledge and the experience that that father had, he had gained while expanding his business empires, those intelligence, those experiences, I thought for the continuity of this businesses that he began, he should pass those knowledge and the secrets to his sons, his children. He should commit them the same way the book of 2 Timothy chapter 2 verse 2 says that which, this was Apostle Paul writing to Timothy, that which you have heard me teach in front of many witnesses, now I commit it to you, so that you also pass it to some trustable man, not every man, but trustable man, Men, you can, those that you can trust. Not everyone you can trust with certain knowledge and intelligence or secrets. So trust them. Commit those intelligence, commit those secrets with the trustable man who will also take them to other people, who will also take them to the next generation. So these kinds of children, these kinds of our sons, the sons of billionaires, who they are not with their father, they are not interested to be trusted with the secrets of maintaining the family businesses. Once the father dies, once the billionaire dies, that man dies with his wealth. His empire begins to just crumble, and that is the end of it. The children have begun fighting for his wealth, inheritance. They are fighting left, right, and center. Why? Because they were brought up in a lifestyle that was being maintained by their father. But now that their father is no longer there, yet they have to keep the standard and the lifestyle that they were living before their father died. They have to now begin selling the assets, selling the businesses that their father worked for years to build, just in a bid to maintain the standard that they were living before their father died. So many children of billionaires are not acting differently from how the children of Job were. The children of Job were not they were never interested with being with Job, so that Job can commit to them the secret of how he became wealthy. What they were doing every time was to party. Even at the time of their death, when the tragedy befell them, they were partying. They were in the house, one of their brothers, I think the eldest house, party. There was nothing that these children were doing. They were not studying, they were not being trained, they were not mentored, they were not staying with their father. There is nowhere we saw the children of Job coming to be with their father. They had no business with their father. They had no time with their father. In fact, I tend to believe their father was just seeing them once when they come back in the palace of Job. They were not there. So if they were not there, how could Job train them? How could Job commit them? And tell them the secret of how he became the richest in the East? They were not there. So when Job died, I believe he died with all his intelligence and wealth. That is the secret why in our current generation we cannot keep generational wealth. If a billionaire dies today, give it 3 years, give it few years, and this empire is down. His children are battling long cases in courts of laws of inheritance. They want to sustain the life that their father had already put them into, but never gave them the intelligence of maintaining those lives. So, many wealthy people today, when they die, they always die with their wealth. And their empires follow them in death. Why? Because their children, or the children they have, are not wealth creation oriented. These are children that all they think is ways of partying and enjoying, ways of just wasting the wealth of their parents as they wait inheritance. That is all they think about. So with this kind of lifestyle, we cannot maintain a generational wealth. Somebody listen to me. If you have to listen to me, you have to get this. With this kind of lifestyle, we cannot maintain a generational wealth. That your father is a governor, your father is a president, your father is somebody great, a billionaire somewhere. So all you are doing is to parade yourself around with heavy machines and with a very powerful security. What next after the man leaves power? What next after that of your father leaves or dies? You need to keep the business, the family businesses going. The name that your father has worked for years to build should still remain. It should remain for generations after generation. But it cannot remain with children who have the intelligence or the mindset of parting from morning to evening. Never. Never. We cannot maintain generational wealth with such kind of minds. Now, back to what I was saying. Job entered the realm of the richest in the East because he had a strong relationship with the Spirit, who in this case is God. Job had a strong connection, a strong partnership with the spirit being, who is God in our case. And we saw spirit God meeting him at an altar where he always went to do what? To offer sacrifices. So there was altar there. There must be an altar. If a spirit has to transact businesses with you, they will do that on a platform of an altar. So not even Job went against this. Not even Abraham went against this. If a spirit has to partner with a man, there has to be a place of altar. You cannot violate that principle. Never. Go search, go, you can come up with your head knowledge. You cannot challenge this principle. If you have to meet a spirit, the platform, the negotiation table is the altar. Now, the kind of wealth that Job broke into was so great that other spirits were unhappy about it. The realm, the level of wealth, abundance, dominance, the level of influence that Job entered in the territory of the East was so great. It was so huge. It was a rare realm that when he broke into that realm, other spirits that are not the spirit of God, other evil spirits were disturbed about it. They were unhappy. They were not happy. They could not stand to see a man, Job, in those realms, in those levels of influence and capacity. So, Satan being one of those spirits, Satan being one of the spirits that was disturbed, was challenged, was unhappy, seeing that a man, Job, has broken into the realm of wealth and influence, abundance in the territory of the East, he was not happy. And in this case, Satan did come to negotiate with God. We are seeing Satan did not come to negotiate with Job, but Satan went to negotiate with God. So it was a spirit versus a spirit negotiation. It was no longer a spirit versus a man. Satan did not come to negotiate with Job. Why? Because he knew that the wealth of Job were not out of his own intelligence. Satan had no problem with Job. Satan had no beef. He had nothing personal with Job. He knew that the wealth, the level of intelligence, the level of influence and wealth that Job has broken into is not out of his own intelligence. It is not out of the growth and development of Job's mind, Job's wisdom, Job's knowledge, Job's studies. It was out of an intelligence from a spirit being. So Satan went to negotiate with the spirit that was behind Job's wealth. And that was how Satan appeared before God. Because he knew that the intelligence behind the wealth of Job was because of God, who is a spirit. So just imagine, I want you to just imagine this. Someone is here on earth, Job is here on earth, but spirits are disturbed about him. In fact, spirits are holding a meeting to discuss his fate on the matters of wealth and the influence that he has attained. Imagine you are a human, you are just doing your businesses here on earth, literally here. You don't know anything, but in the realm of the spirit, spirits have held meetings, and the word they are discussing, the person or the subject that they are discussing, the agenda is your wealth and influence. How you have attained those wealth, how you have entered into the realms of wealth and abundance that you have entered into. Job is on earth, but Satan, who is a spirit, has gone before God, who is a spirit, to discuss the matters of how Job has been blessed. My friend, we are only all equal by formation, physicality, and design. But the rest, every other thing apart from our physical formation, design, every other thing is different. We are not, oh, I don't know how to put this. We can be equal in terms of our gender. If I'm a man, you're a man. We can be equal because I'm tall. Like the physicality, by formation and the creation of God, we can be equal. But the rest, every other thing, how men are making it here in life, we are not equal. We are not equal. We can be equal because of our physicality. You are a lady, someone is a lady. But when it comes to entering into certain levels of influence, certain levels of impact, certain levels of wealth and dominance in this world, we are not equal. There are some things that I can do that if you cannot do them, you will never break into certain realms. You will never break into certain realms. You will never. A man has amassed wealth on earth that spirits are having a meeting to negotiate the cost of those wealth without his own knowledge here on earth. And you say spirits are not real. What is that? Satan has appeared before God. Satan is a spirit. God is a spirit. So two spirit beings have met together. And the major issue, the agenda is Job, who is a man here on earth. And why are these two spirits meeting? They are meeting because of the issue of Job attaining a certain level of impact in the world. And you say spirits are not real. If you are saying spirits are not real, then you need to go for some training somewhere. You need to be come. I will teach you. I will show you certain things. Job is just sleeping, doing his own things on earth. He is not aware that there is a contention in the spirit. Why? Because of his wealth. You see, when Apostle Paul is telling us in Ephesians chapter 6 verse 12 that we are not, for our warfare is not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, powers, dominions, authorities that rule in the darkness of this world. There are rulers, there are powers, there are thrones, there are kingdoms that are ruling here on earth. And whenever they see a man beginning to rise, beginning to make impact in a certain level, in a certain area or field, this spirit will not be happy and they will begin to fight. There will be a contention. So if you don't believe in spiritual warfare, what you all believe is, I'm not against you, whatever, you can believe what you want to believe, but for me I believe there is spiritual warfare. I believe this thing called spiritual warfare, it is there. There is contention between spirit beings. Job is on earth, just roaming around his businesses, doing his own thing. But Satan has appeared before God. A spirit being and a spirit being. Heavenly beings have met. And the issue is because of the wealth of Job. And you are telling me you just want to do business with head knowledge alone? My friend, you're joking. You want to break into certain levels in the political arena, in the certain levels in the corporate world with just head knowledge alone. You can never. So, you can become a class prefect, a village elder, or maybe these local politics at home, in the village, or even in schools, in our current universities today. There are no real contentions. Nowadays, I thank God because of our spirituality in our universities. Because people now, we can see revival in our universities. But then, real politics that I've witnessed is always a spirit political results. They are results that are instigated by spirit beings. So if you don't believe in spirituality, if you don't believe in spiritual warfare, that is up to you. Well and good. Thank you for not believing it. Leave me with my own belief. For me, I believe in spiritual warfare. Job is on earth, yet spirits are fighting. Spirits are having meeting because of him. So you can amass wealth. There are certain levels of influence, impact that you can enter into. And from that day, spirit will not have peace. They will fight. They will not have peace until they see you are brought down. They will use everything within their docket, their influence, everything, every resource that they have to fight you and bring you down. That is what they did to Job, by the way. We are going there. We are going there. So, have you not seen politicians going to witch doctors? And they do certain gymnastics, and the witch doctor gives them certain things, enchantments, and I don't know. You know, spirituality is real. Spirit world is real. Spiritual warfare is real. It is a reality. If you don't believe it, don't worry. You will come to believe it. If you don't believe it, again, there are certain levels of result that you will never achieve in this world. So it is either you have a partnership with God, who is a spirit, or you have a partnership with an evil spirit. Never. But if you are to command certain levels of influence, levels of impact in this world, you have to connect with a spirit being. Let no man lie to you. That is why Apostle Paul said, Ephesians 6:12, our warfare is not against flesh and blood. We are not fighting against men. If you think your brother is fighting you, or another politician is fighting you for that seat, then that is you may not really understand it, because you don't understand spiritual things. No. Spiritual warfare is real. Men enter into partnership with the spirit, and those spirits are behind their success. So either you ever enter into a partnership with God, the Holy Spirit, or enter into a partnership with an evil spirit. But there are certain results, mark my word, in this world, that you will never attain if you don't have a partnership with the spirit. No, never. Forget about it. Forget about it. If you try to work with your head knowledge, I'm not saying that you are school knowledge, you are training. Your intelligence as a human, what you have been learning in books cannot take you somewhere. It will take you somewhere. There are certain results that you will have, that you will command, but those results are limited. They cannot go far. There are certain realms. If you are to be the richest in the whole world, if you are to be, and that is why even the Antichrist, the Bible says that the Antichrist will come. He will be the wealthiest. He will be a man who commands influence in all capacity. He will be a man who has partnered with a spirit being. So don't joke. Spiritual warfare is real. Spiritual warfare is real. So, back to what I was saying. I want you to just imagine God asking Satan if he had seen, if he had noticed his servant Job. God asking Satan. These are now spirit. God is a spirit, Satan is a spirit. Now, God asking Satan if Satan has noticed his servant Job. Listen to me, somebody. There are level of impact that you can make. There are level of influence that you can enter into. That spirit will be proud of you. Spirit will take pride in you. The same way God, who is a spirit, took